Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It's Sunday morning, which means one thing. It's time to have a look at the back pages. Yesterday, a full card of Scottish Premiership matches. We've seen some good results around the league for teams like Celtic, Rangers, even Hamilton picking up a massive win away to Livingston. So I'm sure there's going to be some interesting stories to read through. Some news from dirty tackles, no cards, a lot of goals, and ultimately Celtic finally playing the 3-5-2. So it's going to be interesting. Let's jump right into it. Right, without wasting any more time, you know how the series goes by now. If you are new though, I do encourage you, please make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit like, there will be another video tomorrow. Interestingly enough, only like 50% of my viewers are subscribed to the channel, so if you are watching without an account, if you're watching without subscribing, make an account, subscribe. It really helps the channel grow, of course. We're going to start with the Sunday Mail. Hugh Keevins was of course a big feature in it last week, but there you go, back page dominated by both Celtic and Rangers, as you normally would expect for a Glasgow based newspaper. But it's a big day for Shane Duffy after grabbing a debut goal against Ross County yesterday. Shane says it's still a dream debut. Shane Duffy insists his debut Celtic goal was still special despite netting in a near empty stadium in Dingwall. The Irish stopper was one of the 5 different scorers in the 5-0 romp at Ross County. The game was played just with 300 fans in the stadium as a test event as Scottish football welcomed punters back for the first time after the COVID-19 shutdown. Defender Duffy, on loan from Brighton, headed the third goal and said, Damien Duff texted me and said, I know, it's what you've dreamed. I mean, you couldn't ask for it better. We were all delighted for the signing of Shane Duffy, and that photo said it all right at the end of the game. You seen the three, Lennon, Brown and Duffy, smiles all round, and Neil Lennon hopefully putting a lot of doubters in their place. You know, a lot of people still commenting we're not ambitious enough with Lennon in charge. Yesterday I think we showed great ambition. You know, you can't argue with a 5-0 win. And yes, Ross County did bring the game to us. Ross County made life difficult at times, but you can't really complain when you've looked at the start of the season Ross County have had. Kettlewell has done really well up there, or should I say David De Gea, to prove a lot of people wrong, like me, who thought they were going to finish bottom of the table. So they were always going to be hard. Greg Stewart, a fantastic player. Billy Mackay, who had to go off early, another fantastic player. They have got players to cause problems, but ultimately we got a result. But the main story taking up the back page, and I'm sure a lot of Rangers fans who watch my channel will want to hear my opinion on this. The Crocs ticking, paying in the price. Morelos is floored with leg gash and is carried off, of course, stretched off the park after a horrific tackle from one of the Dundee United centre mids. I'm trying to remember what centre mid it was now, but my God, it was a terrible tackle, and the referee didn't even give a foul, never mind a yellow or red card. And it's just another one of those incidents in Scottish football that shows how poor our refereeing is. And I thought the start to this was the first really big case this season. Last year it was full of mistakes. You know, the referees were slaughtered week in, week out from all sets of fans. And this season we've managed to avoid that until now. This is the first big case, and Kevin Clancy, who was in charge of the game yesterday, should surely be looked at and surely disciplined to some extent for what is a horrendous decision. And I'm not going to sit here and give them the victim card, because it happens all around the league, but it is a terrible tackle. You can't take that away. And we've seen Morelos do tackles like this in the past, and a lot of Celtic fans bringing up the incidents, you know, like the tackle that Ryan Jack made on Stevie May a couple of years ago, and nothing happened, and people were saying that the referee said the ball was won first. It's happened everywhere, it's happened for every team, but this is another example, and it shouldn't have happened. It should have been, well, the decision should have happened. You know, we should have seen probably a red card given. And if you watched the Talk Scottish Football live stream yesterday, they heard Big Dave's opinion on it. But Gerrard pleads for more signings as Rangers lose 4 star men to injury. As a Celtic fan, it's a headline you want to hear, but I'm sure Gerrard and I'm sure Rangers fans will be disappointed. Gerrard has begged the Ibrox board to bolster his squad after they lost 4 players to injury. Bolligan pulled up before kick-off, and Jack, Barker and Morelos were forced off during the game. They all face a race in time to be fit for the derby next month. And of course, these are big players. Ryan Jack, of course, a player who I think is their best. Morelos, one of the best strikers in the country when he's got his head in the game. But a terrible decision. And finally, the last story in the back page of the Mail today. Jim Goodwin's Fury SPFL forced Saints team to play after they thought their game should have been called off for the situation they find themselves in. Of course, having to make an emergency loan signing for the goalkeeper's Lamel from Hearts, just so they could play their game. It should have been called off, let's be quite honest. If we've seen the Celtic and Aberdeen games called off after our situations, then they should have been called off also. But hey ho, they went on, the game was played, much to the displeasure of Jim Goodwin, and rightly so, I would say. But there you go, big double page spread on Shane Duffy. Duff and ready, turnstiles are opening, floodgates as Shane flies for the hoops. I mean, let's be honest, the fans being back, it didn't make a massive difference yesterday, and I'm sure the Ross County fans would have loved to leave that game early, but it's a step in the right direction, and hopefully we can see the fans come back into our stadium soon. Celtic Park, Ibrox down the road. You know, we ultimately need to win. This is the biggest season in Celtic's history, first of all, and it could be one of the biggest seasons in Rangers' history if things went their way, and it wouldn't feel right if we don't have the fans in the stadium. Of course, we've got to deal with a world that is, you know, massively gubbed, and we don't know how that will go. We've got a long year, a long season ahead of us, and let's hope towards the end of it we can get more and more fans in the stadium. The system at Ross County seemed to work yesterday. I'm sure it worked up in Aberdeen as well. So, you know what, it's positive. We'll keep rolling with that. The rest of the mail, as you'd expect, just going through match reviews, going through every game, the results. The fact fans are back in the stadium, some decent results around the league. Aberdeen continuing their fine form after a return to football. Hamilton picking up one of their biggest results so far this season. And then of course the other games around there, Motherwell picking up 3 points, which was huge for them. Some interesting reads today, a couple of pieces on Neil Lennon, a piece on Ryan Fraser too. Pick it up if you like, it's quite good today. And aye, that's the mail, we'll move on. Sunday Post, which was looking very plain today, innit? The front page is awful weird. Fantastic, eh? But the back page, once again, Morelos lying on the floor is the main photo, and then above that we've got the fact that there was fans in the stadium for the game against Ross County. Saints boss and rant at the SPL over their keeper chaos. The laughing stock of world football is what Jim Goodwin said the SPFL would have made St Mirren look like yesterday, and you can see why. I don't understand why the game was forced to go forward. They're lucky enough that they did pick up a goalkeeper. But no one would have expected them to be forced to play the game, and Jim Goodwin himself said that. Like, when everything came out, the players who tested positive within their team, you know, the first thing on their mind was, right, okay, our game will probably be called off this weekend, but no, it wasn't. The SPFL forced it to go forward, and it's another one of those decisions at the top of the game which makes you wonder, are the right guys in charge? And Jim Goodwin, I mean, everything he said, the flabbergasted comments that he had, they're all very justified, and there's no taking away from that. Moving forward, we need to see consistency in these decisions. You know, if there's another situation like this where we see players test positive, will the games go on? Next time, because of this, will we be called off? There's no consistency in the decisions at the top, and it's really frustrating, and it's going to come and affect every team at some point this season, I'd imagine. You've seen it already affect Celtic, Aberdeen and St Mirren through first-hand decisions, or first-hand mistakes, but the teams that we've meant to play, St Mirren have already been affected in the past because of what happened with us. Aberdeen were meant to play St Johnstone, that was affecting St Johnstone. It's just going to affect everybody at some point. It's only a matter of time before more of these cases and such creep up. First time I've actually seen a close-up of the photo of Morelos' leg. That's horrendous. There's an actual hole there. I wonder how long he'll be out for. I wonder if it'll affect the potential move of Fredo Morelos also. So it is a weird one. Kenny Dalglish with a massive column in today. Celtic legend, Liverpool legend, European Cup winner. Scotland hero. Oliver Buck should stand in front of a mirror. The truth is usually staring back at you. Oliver Buck burst onto the scene 4 years ago for Scotland, and there was a genuine feeling that he was going to produce something special for the country. And where do we stand now? Kenny Dalglish is being quite brutally honest there about Burke and how he's disappointed. But apart from that, I'll tell you what, the Post have had away from football today. If you want football news, it's not the paper to go to today. We've got the cricket, we've got the golf. That's about it. We've not even got any match reviews from yesterday, so I don't know what else there is for me to say on the Sunday Post. I was quite shocked there when I opened it up and seen the cricket in the third page from the back, so aye, Post has done us good today. And finally, the Daily Star, which we always know supplies us with little bits here and there in Scottish football. They like to get right into the English stuff, and you can see that in the back page with Mo Salah. Obviously, the return of the Premier League yesterday, a very exciting day. For people down south, a very exciting day for the world of football who look at the Premier League as the kind of standard bearer for football. I think it's a disaster of a choice if you think that, but you know, some really good games. I sat down and watched the Liverpool Leeds game, brilliant. I sat and watched the Arsenal Fulham game, goals in it, 3-0, but the standard of football was shocking at points. But aye, that's on the back page. But then we have got Jim Goodwin taking the headlines here. The first paper not to have Morelos' injury is the kind of headline. Laughing stock. Goodwin flabbergasted. SPFL forced side to play despite losing 3 goalies. And Duffy as well on the back page. And it's just, once again, we'll just touch on how much Shane Duffy is going to add to this team. Yesterday, his leadership looked great. His defensive ability looked great. He was using his physicality. And it was such a polar opposite from what we've seen so far this season in Christopher Jullien, and even in yesterday's game of Christopher Jullien. He looked weak, he looked worried, he looked nervous, and he wasn't using his physicality. That's a big guy, Christopher Jullien. Shane Duffy is a monster. You know, you see the size of him, he automatically is a mismatch for any striker playing against him. And he was using his body to make sure players couldn't get round him, and it was great because at times we've not seen that from either in Jullien. And if they can learn from Duffy, we're going to have 3 solid centre halves. So, aye, very exciting times. The Star focusing on the games that happened in yesterday's football. And that's it for the back pages. No transfer news in them so far, but if there is transfer news, I will let you know throughout the week. I'll tell you what's happening. We'll have our Celtic transfer talks. And if you have enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Of course, mostly just a recap from yesterday. Celtic getting a massive 3 points, and now we march on to a busy fixture list where we play St Mirren during the week and then go on from there. It's going to be exciting. We need to try and close that gap, even though we've got games in hand, and get back up to the top of the table, ultimately show what the best 3-5-2 works, Neil. It works. See you all next time.